Thank you so much for that, Balisa. Whilst many of us may have forgotten what the word alliteration is, well, here's a title as an example of what it actually is. Clover Classic Custard Cream Cookies. And though it may be a mouthful to say, here's some cookies that serve as a perfect reward to take us back to those back-to-school days. You remember?
100%, girl.
You remember those days, Balisa, when you were talking alliteration, synonyms. Luckily, today's recipe is not complicated at all. Very simple, very easy, and using the amazing Clover Classic Vanilla Custard.
Yeah.
So to start it off, Balisa, we've got the wet ingredients, we've got the dry ingredients, and we've also got a filling for our cookies today. So to start it off, you're going to make the filling for us. You've got some Clover custard that you're going to chuck into that pot. Okay. Basically, what we want to do is we want to make a nice thick cream that's going to be sandwiched between this amazing cookie base that I'm going to be making right now. So to start it off, I've got some butter that I've basically sat out at room temperature throughout the day. The reason for that is we want it to be easily manageable in a sense. We want it to be soft enough. If it's straight from the fridge, then it's hard to maneuver, it's hard to mix in. I've just added some icing sugar in there, and as you can see, it basically just folds easily. I don't need that elbow grease. Today no elbow grease whatsoever.
Lovely. But this is definitely coming through when it comes to sweetness.
Correct.
So as soon as I've put in my Clover Classic custard into the pot, I've put it on a very soft heat.
Correct.
Like level number 2, essentially.
Correct.
And then these other ingredients, we've got your vanilla essence.
Correct. You've got vanilla essence, and then you've also got corn flour. So basically, that's the thickening agent for our sauce, our cream filling. So all you're going to do is you can now add in your vanilla essence as well as the cornstarch, and basically just whisk that all together. It's going to start off very runny, that's fine. As it thickens up, that basically forms the consistency that we want, which is basically going to be like this. We want it to be nice and manageable, but not too hard, not too firm. So all I've done now is I've mixed in a bit of vanilla essence because it is a vanilla cookie. So we want to make sure that that vanilla is packed both in the cookie and in the cream filling that we've got.
It's also definitely coming through within the aromas here in the kitchen. It's smelling vanilla-y. I also have a little bit of a secret trick, and I heard that real estate agents do this now and again. Because the sense of vanilla just is so nostalgic and brings us back to the times where ukoko and our omas were making those delicious cookies at home. They use vanilla to kind of make people feel like the home that they're walking into during walk-ins resonates with them a little bit more. So it's all about keeping it in the family.
Correct. And you wonder why people buy homes and they're so, I feel at home. Girl, it's the vanilla in there.
So why not get that same kind of mood going in your own household?
Exactly, Balisa. And the great part about this is we're using Clover Classic Custard, right? The range is so amazing that we could even use any of the other ingredients. I know I was thinking about the dairy snack where you could use one of their flavors in here, because that would then form as maybe a peach-flavored dairy snack cookie if you'd like to as well. But luckily today we're keeping it all custardy because this is also a perfect addition to your kiddies' lunch, well, for some of us. All I'm adding now is a bit of custard powder as well, and then I'm adding our flour. So now we're going to start putting this together, putting our dish together, putting our cookies together, because now we're going to start rolling it up into the beautiful cookies that we want to basically sandwich that amazing custard cream that you've made there. So I'm going to ask you to not stop stirring, because if you don't know, cornstarch is one of the few things that if you leave unattended, it'll show you flames, it'll turn into rock.
I get duly noted.
Yes, girl, so keep going in there, and I'm also just going to keep mixing in our dry ingredients here to form a nice crumbly texture that's then going to help us make the cookies that we're going to make here. And then once it's done, I'll pop it into the oven, and then we'll start sandwiching. Luckily, I made a few beforehand, so I'll show you exactly what goes into there. And so South Africa, this is the consistency we're looking for. Nice and manageable, not too dry, not too wet. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to start forming our cookies. So you basically just roll it into nice, simple little balls like this. And then we put this onto our cookie tray that's been sprayed with non-stick spray. And then all we're going to do now is basically just roll these into little balls. And luckily, because of the kind of recipe it is, it doesn't need a lot of time. We're basically going to make sure these go into the oven to bake. What I do suggest, though, a lot of times, if you're working with this kind of recipe, put it in the fridge for a bit to set up, to be firm, so that when you bake it in the oven, it doesn't go all over the place.
Very manageable, it sounds like.
Very manageable,
It sounds like this recipe also would make the perfect midday everyday snack. You know, something that you can have something with your tea.
Correct.
It's what it's all about here. Or, of course, for me, you know, a midnight snack as well. When I'm creeping into the kitchen, getting my hand stuck in that cookie jar, this is what I want to be enjoying.
Yes, girl, I get you. And like I was saying earlier, it's perfect for the kiddos as well. And once you've basically baked our cookies in the oven at 180 degrees for a very, very short time, it's about 10 to 12 minutes. Because all we want is we want them to be nice and... The one thing, before I even fill them up, Balisa, I want to show you how light these are. Yeah. They're basically very simple. I'm not using a lot of effort. Nice and airy and light. And that's basically what we're going to be filling our custard cream, our cookies with now. This beautiful cream that you're making of. I see you, girl.
100%. I'm actually so glad that you told me the tip and trick to keep stirring. I'm already seeing the consistency changing up completely when it comes to this custard. It's so much more thicker than what it was. This is the soggy gooiness that we want for that beautiful center. As you said, I can only imagine biting through it, that fluffiness that comes out from the cookie itself, and then met by this middle is perfect.
You know, and the one thing I love about these cookies is they stay fresh for up to a week. So you just put them in a nice little cookie container. They stay fresh for up to a whole week. You could actually even zhuzh it up if you like. You could add nuts if you like nuts. If you want to, you could add cranberries as well. You could basically add your own twist to it. And like I mentioned earlier, because Clover Classic has such a range, it caters for everyone's palate. So if you would perhaps want to do something else, maybe add the Clover Classic fat spread, you can also use that in the actual cookie mixture itself as well.
Beautiful.
So Balisa, there we go. These are delicious. These are tasty. These are perfect for kiddos, perfect for mommy, perfect for lunch. Like I mentioned, perfect as a midnight snack as well.
I can just imagine bonding with ugogo if she was still alive, and of course mama and just everyone in your life, whoever is near and dear to you. Just imagine sitting in the living room after whipping it up in the kitchen, cheersing with that beautiful tea or coffee and biting into those delicious snacks.
You know, my granny used to love baking, so this actually is a nostalgic moment for me as well. It reminds me of ugogo and her amazing, you know that vanilla essence smell? That was basically ugogo in the kitchen every day baking something or the other. And South Africa, if you want to try this at home, head over to afternoonexpress.co.za to get the full ingredients list. But if by any chance you missed it, here's a quick recap.
Made with love by Clover.
A detailed recipe recap. That's what I love about you, Dumi. You're meticulous. Your attention to detail is everything. So finally, one last tip when making these delicious cookies.
Do not over-mix. They're very nice and fluffy. You don't want to over-mix. You don't want to release the gluten in the flour, so be as light-handed as possible.
Beautiful.
So, we've had classic fashion from Timby, classic cars, thanks Chad, and we've seen classic hairstyles. And you, Michael? Classic!
A classic range from Clover. Timeless taste.
Made with love by Clover.
Dumi, after the break, I'm so glad because we're going to have the beautiful opportunity to bring together this entire conversation from the top of the show. And of course, we'll be diving into all of those social media comments that our viewers have been, you know, completely just giving us from the top of the show. And I love all of the suggestions. So I'm looking forward to reading those.